Alright, here is a review of the notes, and I'm going to cover scaling networks, and this is the first 3 weeks, so weeks 1 through 3. This is day 1. And then we talked about, we went to the Student Learning Center on Thursday at 8:50. Login for the room. Reviewed OSI model. It's moved, and we talked about access, distribution, core, TCP, UDP. And then here we looked at the diagram of redundancy. The course is going to talk a lot about redundancy, having 2 options. Access control list, we talked about this edge going into the internet. Multi-homed, you have 2, maybe you're connecting to 2 ISPs, 2 completely different ISPs in the internet. I talked about switch access and wireless access, Wi-Fi. So we have this layer, if you want to think of it this way, this layer where we have access in to the network. We have all these devices. It's amazing nowadays how many devices we have and how many we connect in with Wi-Fi. Here we distribute the information, and then this might be considered a core layer. This is sort of a simple diagram of why. Talk about primarily here they're worried about routing. Here in distribution you are controlling traffic. I'll move a little faster when I get done. We talked about ether channel. We can use up to maybe 8 ports, and it looks like just one connection, even though there's lots of connections in between there. So we can eliminate, like if you have 2 devices and you're exchanging a lot of information through, we can eliminate that bottleneck there. Redundancy and networks that allow us different paths, easier to manage, scale better, limit failure area. A lot of that has to do with a hierarchical design. Talked about switch types, port density, speed of the ports. Review everything. Alright, good here. Already on another day. Thursday, scaling, we reviewed progress, talked about assessments, Student Learning Center resources, we visited there. Tuesday, so this was week 2, day 1, scaling, chapter 1 review, talked about the terms, questions, making progress, layered network design. Campus-wide wired LAN design, scalable, we talked about the hierarchy, selecting network devices, stack, port density, speed of the ports, and we talked about ether channel again, distribution core, access layer. Here we have a collapse core, have them all together, and here we talked about a network design here at the campus, getting all the way out to the internet. service provider could connect in this way, or you can connect out through the network. Talked about that port being DHCP, VLAN 20, so we worked on that whole concept of getting out of the network, being able to configure it from this point on. And we did some more of that later on in the course. NIACC layout, main campus, our areas, like a LAN in a LAN. Okay, and then the connection out. Here's a big picture. I'm not going to talk specifically. And same picture again. There, I'm halfway through the slides. Students figured out the addressing, and they did the work here to design that, and it was working when we got done. Alright, here we go. Now we're on Thursday. We're still here in week 2, day 3. Actually, take that back. Day 4. Scaling networks, VTP, extended VLANs, virtual VLAN, and trunking. Cisco options to configure switches and so forth. We worked on the labs. So we did this. We talked about the server, transparent, client, trunks in between, VTP, the server being able to send that information with the VLANs. Transparent, you can put VLANs on a transparent, but all it does is transmit this information down, so the client you can change your VLAN here, and the client picks up the change here. Trunks, we talked about adding another server. You have to be careful about the version number and so forth, all that. And then we looked at the situation where you have multi-layered switch, and we looked at some examples here. DHCP, DNS, IP routing, virtual interface, ACLs. When you configure that, inter VLAN switching. Now, so this would take us Tuesday, week 3, day 5. Sounds about right. We reviewed VTP and DTP, then we did the troubleshooting lab. Cyber Defense Club this week. So here was our review. Quiz and exam, talked about getting those done. Version and revision numbers. You got to keep those straight here. All the details of that. And this was an example that we looked at in class. Thursday. So this is week 3. That would be day 6. Talked about packet tracers, made sure everything was okay with those and how we were looking at them. We had a multi-layered switch. We didn't get quite as far as we wanted to. We want you to think about some of the things we've learned inter VLAN routing and access, but we didn't get as I thought we would. But anyway, we talked about this scenario. Our next step, per VLAN spanning tree, we talked about these VLANs using this switch for their rep bridge, maybe these VLANs using this switch, and you can do that with per VLAN spanning tree. Then if this one goes out, all the traffic goes this way, and then when it comes back, that traffic can start going that way. So you can divide up the traffic between the switches. And so our next step is start looking at redundancy after building some redundancy between switches. And this was the lab that we made up and worked on today. We didn't get very far. We had some issues getting the router configured, but I think we got some good steps done. We didn't get much done on the switch, but we'll take a look at that on. Then here's a couple pictures of the lab. One group, this was what they configured, and here's our cloud going into our cloud, so we have a record of that. Anyway, here's what the other group was working on. Okay, so start chapter 3 next week, and then we'll revisit this also. That's it.